Candidates must have participated in at least 50 hours of community service within at least 3 different community service activities. These hours are in addition to and cannot be duplicated as paid or unpaid SAE hours. Activities can only be used once in the application. Activities planned by the local chapter can be included provided they are only listed in the community service section of the application and not duplicated in the FFA activities section of the application. Carefully review the Community Service Guideline for FFA degrees to learn what activities are eligible to be counted as community service for FFA degrees. Remember, just because you worked for free doesn't mean it was eligible community service. Check the guidelines. Community service is the engagement of individuals or groups in an organized activity that contributes to the local, national, or world community. Community service activities are those opportunities that are available to all residents of a community. It is also known as volunteering, which is the practice of people working on behalf of others or a particular cause without payment for their time and services. For the activity to be acceptable as FFA degree community service hours, all of the following must be met. 1. The activity includes community involvement by the individual. 2. The applicant has an opportunity to gain skills and competencies or apply those learned in the classroom. 3. The activity has a positive impact and is focused on helping others, improving community resources, or making the community a better place to live. 4. The applicant must voluntarily donate their time, energy, and knowledge outside of any class time, including non-agricultural classes. If the applicant is performing the service instead of doing required classwork, then it doesn't count. If the applicant is doing the service for reparations or punishment, it is not voluntary and does not count. 5. The activities can be organized by a group the applicant is a part of, including the FFA chapter, church, or sports team, but the activity cannot be for the benefit of that group itself. If the group the member is a part of exists to solely provide service like the United Way or the American Cancer Society to benefit the group's service mission, then it counts. 6. Activities listed/hours counted as community service cannot be duplicated in the FFA activities section of the application or as unpaid SAE hours. The Community Service Guidelines includes examples of unacceptable and acceptable community service. Review this guide to help you determine if your community service will be accepted or not by the National FFA. The key thing to remember is that the volunteer work cannot benefit the member or the group the member belongs to in any way. Another key point is that you can participate in an activity your FFA chapter organized as long as it is providing a service or contributing to a charitable organization. For example, running a blood drive for the Red Cross, ringing bells for the Salvation Army, making tie blankets for the hospital, packing food for kids against hunger, cleaning up the highway for Adopt a Highway. When entering these activities, the group or individual that benefits would be the Salvation Army or the Red Cross or the hospital, not your FFA chapter. The FFA chapter is who organized the event and who you worked with to provide your service.
So these are examples that I created to show you how you should fill them out when you are filling out your application. And just as it said, when you are filling in the individual group or organization to whom the service was provided, do not put your FFA chapter there or your FFA alumni there or a sports group. This is where you put the actual people that benefited from your volunteer hours. So in this case, we would put Adopt a Highway here, or you could put the Department of Transportation. And then in the description, you have plenty of room to describe exactly what you did and who you did it with. So in this case, we said they picked up garbage on a 3-mile stretch of Highway 60 with my FFA chapter or 4-H club. It could be either one. And then you put in the hours that you worked. And you can do this for each year. This example is the Salvation Army rang bells and took donations at the local grocery store. Okay, and maybe this was organized by your FFA chapter, or it may have been your school that reached out and asked your FFA chapter to help. Another example would be your local food pantry So if this is the Columbus Fall River Food Pantry and your FFA chapter gathered and sorted non-perishable food items to donate to the food pantry. It's okay that you did it with your FFA chapter, but the people who really benefited would have been the food pantry. And then you also want to put in your hours, but you're going to make sure you write a really good description of what you did. Now, remember, you cannot count this in your FFA activities in the application. So you do not want this to show up someplace else if you recorded it as part of your SAE project or FFA activities that you participated in to get your degree. Another example would be community garden, weeding and cleaning up the garden in preparation for planting with my FFA chapter. Or Kids Against Hunger, you packaged meals for kids that were sent to other countries. The Red Cross benefited because you assisted donors at the Red Cross blood drive. Could be a snowmobile club. You volunteered your time to mark and groom snowmobile trails. The UW Children's Hospital, making tie blankets with your FFA chapter and donating them to the hospital. Or maybe you have a senior center in town and you volunteered time to go play bingo with residents with your 4 H club. You can also assist individuals. So, if you individual, and if in this instant we have an individual that is wheelchair bound and they needed help with their dairy project at the fair, and you helped them prepare their animal for the show and then assisted them in the show ring, that's an example of donating your time to someone with a disability. Or it could be an individual like a neighbor that's elderly that you helped rake leaves in the fall or shovel their sidewalk in the winter. Those are examples of how you can help, and just list and name the individual that it was that you helped. So those are examples of how you should fill out your community service for the application, and you'll have a better chance of it being accepted by the National FFA.